Good morning, boss women. How are we? So, I've got a pretty cool live stream for you this morning. And the title is so long that I'm pulling out my iPad so that I can read it again, right? And I'll just wait for a couple of you to pop on. Say hi as you jump on. Let me know how you're going. Let me know how your day is, how your week's been. Let me know what's going down for you at the moment. Let me know if you want me to do a video on something that might actually help you. Morning, Miriam. Hey, Natasha. How is everyone? Yeah? All right. So, just looking up my long-ass live stream title. Okay, so I had this really interesting conversation with one of my clients this morning, and I was like, damn, I've got to do a video on this so I can use myself as an example, because all you mofos are way too hard on yourselves, including myself, right? I'm putting my hand up now as well. Good morning, Caroline. How are you? I'm putting my hand up as well, right? We can be our own worst critic. We can be such an asshole to ourselves when we are not doing just simply one thing. Morning, Sandy. Just simply when we're not doing one thing, we get so fixated on not doing that one thing, and we get so hard on ourselves for doing it, beat ourselves to a pulp, that we totally neglect and ignore all the beautiful things that we are doing, all the things that are coming into place, all the things that are small things that actually build up to making the big changes. Also had a different conversation with a new client of mine last night who signed up for Boss Woman Unleashed. We were talking about being ready, right? Sometimes we are ready to hear the truth. Sometimes we are ready to change. And there are other times where we're not. That is okay. It doesn't matter where you sit on that goddamn spectrum. It is totally okay if you are not ready to change, or you're not ready to hear something, or you're not ready to own your shit in that part, right? Everybody has their own process, and we do a very good job. One sec. We do a very good job of creating a self-constructed cage around us that makes us feel safe, except it's so fucking fake. You know, we try and sit in our comfort zone because we want to feel safe and we want to feel comfortable. But the thing is, what we're doing is we're putting walls around us. We're jumping into a cage and shutting it so that we can't get hurt, or so that we can't feel pain, so that we can't feel uncomfortable, so that we know that everything's okay. But the thing is, you can't unknow what you know, right? And just stay with me with this. You can't unknow what you already know. So if you know that there's something that's no longer serving you, that you're ready to change, but you're just too scared to do it, you can only remain in that cage for so long before you go, fuck it, I'm fucking done with this. I'm so over it. I have to change. I need to change. AKA, I like to call that changing from a place of desperation. Sometimes we change from inspiration. Other times we change from desperation. There's no right or wrong with that. It really, honestly, doesn't matter. It's just about how long you're willing to sit in that space, because eventually that comfortable space will become uncomfortable because you know differently. You know that there's more that's possible for you. It's just that you're scared, or you're afraid to dip your toes outside, or, unlock the cage and step out and see what's there, right? Sometimes also we dip our toes outside and then we come back in. It's like, whoa, that was way too much. Not ready for that right now. It's about having the self-awareness and understanding yourself, knowing yourself, right? And understanding that if you're going to step into your uncomfortable zone, like discomfort, if you're going to step outside your comfort zone, that it's not going to feel, you're not going to be like, yes, sweet, this is amazing, this is awesome, like, feels so good, da-da-da. If you're not used to stepping outside your comfort zone, it's going to be scary. You are going to feel afraid. Not necessarily. Sometimes we just jump and leap. Usually I call that the inspiration, right? So we change from inspiration, where we just jump and leap and we don't even pay attention to our fears, right? So that's the difference between the inspiration and the desperation. It's how I like to put it like that, right? But sometimes it's just too scary. Our fears are too big, right? So then what can you do? This is one of the most important questions you can ever ask yourself. What can I do? What could I do? What could I do if I wanted to? What could I do if anything was possible? What could I do to help myself move forward? And that might be something so little. It's like I might drive a different way to work. I might park my car further away from where I need to be. I might just, change one of my meals. I might just change one piece of my story. Like I might change just a little bit of my language, maybe just a little bit. And then, when I feel comfortable with that, then I will do more. I will add to that. I will change it, right? But I know in myself right now that taking smaller steps is going to help me more than trying to push myself to make a big fucking change that is way too fucking scary, that as soon as it gets uncomfortable, I'm just going to jump back into my comfort zone, right? It is about understanding where you're at and being totally okay with the fact that you might not be ready, that you might not be ready to change, or you might not be ready to make a move. Totally fine. On a side note, you're never fucking gonna be completely ready. We're never completely ready. I'm never completely ready to make a change. I, just like you, have lots of fears, lots of doubts that always pop up. They are an invitation to get curious about what's really going on in my subconscious mind. What's my story around it? Am I repeating that same story? Obviously I talk to a lot of people about wanting to work with me. So money is always a thing that pops up. Money. Everybody's got a budget. I get it. I got my own budget, right? I have worked with many, many coaches over my time. Hey, Joe. Hello, Jay. I've worked with many coaches over my time, some of which I couldn't even afford when I started working with them. But I asked them, how can I make this happen? I want to do this with you. How can I make this happen? And I fucking applaud anybody that says that to me, right? Because I know that we will find a way to make it work, because both parties are like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And I have had those experiences myself, right? And I know what it's like to have a budget and, want to do this, but you feel like you can't afford it, blah, 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 whatever. It's your story, right? If you're always using money as a story and this is resonating with you, have a think about it for yourself. Like, where do you play out that story? Because every time you give yourself that story, what happens is you say no to the things that you know that you want. Right? And sometimes, actually, I brought on another client yesterday who I last saw when I lived in Montrose, which was 2011 or 2012. Right? She reached out to me on Insta the other day, caught up with her yesterday, or like had a call with her yesterday. And she was ready to do something. Now, if you work out those years, that's 8 years later, right? 8 years this has been brewing. Totally fine, right? Because now she's at a point where she's willing to own her shit, be present, and then ready to do something. And she's ready and willing to invest in herself, right? That's also another thing, comes around self-worth. I'm not going to go into that too much right now, because I'm totally derailing from the story that I originally wanted to talk about. What's the time? 8-9 minutes. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to talk about what my video was about. For you all. So this is for you if you feel like you're not doing what you think you should be. And I want to give one of my examples that I gave to my client this morning. And I also said here, it's not about doing the every little thing so that you get it right, so that you follow the plan, so that it's perfect, so that it's exactly the way that it should look, right? Because life should look a certain way, but really? The expectation of life looking exactly the way you want it to, it never fucking plays out like that. That's why people end up disappointed all the time. You have so much high expectations that if you're continuously expecting things to look the way that you want them to look, it just doesn't work like that. So you're going to end up continuously disappointed and frustrated, pissed off, angry at yourself. And you just continue. It's like banging your head against a brick wall. In fact, you'd be better off banging your head against a brick wall than continuously setting yourself expectations of what your life should look like. I need to take a breather. Whew. So it's not about doing the every little thing so you get it perfect. It's about knowing what you need and trusting that you are exactly where you ought to be. The example that I want to give you is I work with a coach, right? For accountability. Okay, so someone to check in with, like someone to be accountable to, someone to like bounce my ideas off, where I want to take my body next, what is it I want to do, all that kind of stuff. You guys know that I use myself as a human experiment, and I love experimenting with new things and doing different, because I walk my talk, right? I will never coach somebody in something that I haven't done myself, or experienced, or with a client, right? That's what I just believe makes a truly amazing coach, yeah? Anyway, so I want to tell you a story about me. I went to my coach in, it was either April or May. I'm pretty sure it was like end of April, start of May. It's when, you know, I went through, basically I got back from my retreat, went to New Zealand, went through those 3 deaths that I had in 1 month. Hey Star, how are you? Loving your hair black, by the way. I think it's black from the profile I can see. So I reached out to my coach because I was like, as I said in my post the other day, I was living off, like literally for the first 7-8 months of this year, I was living off crumpets, Uber Eats, and the food that my neighbor would cook me. I went through a lot of stuff. I was sick at the start of the year. If you want to read the post, it was 2 days ago. It's one of me in my body, like at the gym, and I've got like my lime green pants on. So, right. And she wrote me a plan, and I said, look, I need a plan or something to follow. Like, I just don't have the capacity to think for myself right now. I just can't, like, I just want something, right? Anyway, I did not follow that program or meal guide until I looked at it maybe in mid-August. Now, let's work that out. So it's like April or May, June, July, August. So I literally had the answer, which is what everyone's looking for, that I actually know it's not the answer, and this is the point of me telling you this story, right? I just needed some accountability and somebody to reflect to and talk about what I was going through, right? Hey Clancy, how are you? I, for myself, just needed somebody there, right? I got the program, I got the meal plan. I did not follow it once. I checked in once a week. So basically I was paying my coach every single week to not follow my program, to not change my food at all. I didn't do either of those things, and none of it, right? But what I did do was I reflected to her once a week with where I was at in my current life and my where I was at with my head, right? So the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to have a think about times when you've paid for a program, or times when you have you know, pay for something, but you've not really utilized it. Like, you've not really, like, done what was laid out, right? And we feel bad. Like, you feel bad. It's like, fuck, I paid for this program and I'm not following it. Fuck, I paid for this thing and I'm not doing it. It is not always about, morning Peter, is not always about what you can physically see. And this is my point of telling you this story. So please, if you just jumped on, please go back and watch it. I literally started about 9 a.m. or something. Yeah, sometimes you need to do what you can at times, for sure. So for myself, and the point of telling you this is that I paid my coach to write to her once a week and tell her that I not followed the program. This is where I'm currently at. And just offlay some stuff. Now, if you're being a hard ass on yourself and being an asshole to yourself for not doing what you paid for, you would see them just simply as excuses every week that I was just sending, right? However, what I paid for, I got exactly what I needed at that time. I got exactly what it was that I needed in that space, in those moments, which was somebody just to hear me and somebody that I could just express what was going on for me and how challenged I felt. Right? So it was never about following the program. That was never going to fucking happen. Right? It was not about following the meal plan. It was never going to fucking happen. Like, at all. She knew it because she knows me well. I know it. There was so much value in that simply just by me sending an email. And you know what's crazy? And it sounds like really funny this way, right? It was a reflection email in a very summary, like short, dot point that I was sending to her once a week. That was literally a reflection I probably could have done in my own journal. However, having the accountability and paying my coach to do that was what I needed at the time to actually do it. Because before that, I wasn't doing it, and I knew that's what I needed. Right? I needed to be able to check in with myself. I couldn't physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I could not do that for myself at that time. Right? So I got a coach, told her I wanted a body plan and I needed a meal guide, and my shit's all over the place. I'm eating fucking crumpets, living off Uber. My neighbor's cooking me food. Like, that's what's going down, and I just feel like I need some sort of consistency or routine. She's like, awesome, here you go. For sure, and we laugh about it now. She definitely knew I wasn't going to follow it because she knew what was going on in my life, right? That's what takes a freaking amazing coach as well, right? Somebody that understands you and what you are going through in your life. We think sometimes that, if we just get our body and our food sorted, if we get our training, our food sorted, everything will be okay. Sometimes that is the case. Good morning, Fiona. Sometimes that is the case, and sometimes that is not the case. However, you got to work up from both angles, and this way self-awareness, learning about yourself, really comes into hand. It comes in handy for you to know and be aware of so that you can help yourself in moments like that, right? So like in summary to the video that I'm talking about, you guys that just jumped on, please watch the video back. I know it's 20 minutes, just put it on your earphones or audio or whatever. Please know that like everything that you're getting from what you're doing at the moment, whether you're paying for it or not, is absolutely perfect for where you are right now. Right? Everything is a process. Everything takes time. And the beauty of you being the CEO of your own self means that you get to move at your own pace. You can dip your toes in, dip them out, dip them in, dip them out, dip them in, dip them out. You can do that as many times as you like. That's totally sweet. Hey, Karen. Good morning. You can do that back and forth game as long as you want to, right? You'll know when it's the next step. But when you keep being hard on yourself for not being somewhere that you think you should already be, what you do is negatively drive that you're not doing anything, that you're not getting anywhere, that you're not achieving anything, that you're wasting your money, that you're not showing up, that you're not doing all these things. You are totally fucking discounting everything that you are doing, no matter how small that is, because you're too goddamn focused on what it is that you're not doing, that you're not focused on what you are doing. And sometimes, by example of my story, God, my phone is overheating at the moment. It's like it's getting hot and heavy like me. Sometimes, and this is why I gave you my story of example with my coach this morning, following getting a program that I didn't follow once for 4 months, yet I still paid weekly so that she could read an email that was a reflection of how I was feeling, right? It was worth every freaking cent and more, because it helped me get through what I needed to get through at that time. And that was me trusting that this is happening exactly the way it should. It doesn't look the way that I think it would have looked. It looks nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that, right? It was about me just getting what I needed from that coaching at the time. Yeah? So for yourself, right, if you are currently doing a program, if you're currently working with someone, or if you're currently just like beating your own ass because you're not following something that you said that you would follow, like God forbid, like you are human, right? You're having a human experience and you are living life, which never goes the way that we plan it to go, ever. What happens though is you go through experiences that are there to help you to grow and to learn and to be the best version of yourself in your own way, in your own time, in your own space, right? And having compassion for yourself as you move through these things and you are challenged. Life gets challenging and fucking hard when you're like uncomfortable. You're like, holy shit, I feel really nervous. I feel really scared right now. I'm just like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? Most people run away and hide. Go get back in the cage, lock the cage down, can't get hurt in here, right? If you can just remain or practice like in that space and get curious, don't get too hard on yourself, just actually, this is interesting. What is this about? Why do I feel so scared right now? And quite often the answer is that you're about to give yourself everything that you freaking want. And that is scary. That is scary. Imagine if you didn't have these stories. Imagine if you weren't scared. Imagine if you weren't afraid and you just like, there were no limitations to your beliefs of anything that was possible for you. Imagine that. Even that for me is far more scarier, right? Because imagine if you were everything that you possibly wanted to be. Imagine if you had everything. Imagine if you achieved all these things. Like, how amazing would that be? It's scary though, because we're wired and conditioned another way. And I'm going to stop with that because otherwise I'll get way too carried away into what I can just make another video. And I realize you guys have your lives to get to. Thank you everyone this morning for joining me. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening. Obviously, if you feel this was valuable, I'm going to share it on my profile, like my actual Eliza profile. Tag some friends maybe who are not in the Boss Woman building, and they would get some inspo, or they get a kick up the butt, or they get whatever it is that they need from being in the group. Please feel free to add them and let me know what you got from this. I'll just have a look at some comments. Oh, I love you, Peter. I'm so freaking happy for you right now. Yeah, everything is mindset. It's always 10 layers deeper, Peter. You're right. It's a process to get to learn to understand that though, right? Because sometimes we always go for what we physically can see because we need physical reassurance or proof that there's change. Then once you understand or get enlightened to how the mind works, then you can go into the next layer and you realize that it's about what you cannot see instead of what you can see. My absolute pleasure. I love you, Peter. Was writing a blog post on this last night. Yeah, Miriam, we are like in sync. Oh, I love you, Sandy. So excited for your chapters to come. And I say chapters instead of just one chapter, because after our last chapter, you just like jumped 10 chapters ahead, right? So everybody have a great day. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.